I'm here on April 20th at WIPO during the negotiations on a treaty for persons who are blind or have other disabilities, talking to Barbara Stratton from the FIAB, what does that stand for?
Fédération Internationale, good question, et Association des Bibliothèques. It means IFLA, the International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions.
Oh, okay. It's different than IFLA?
How do you mean?
Is it the same organization?
Yes, it's the same organization. It's just IFLA's been coming to WIPO for so long that its original badge was in French. When French was the language and not English.
Great. Well, how are things going so far, in your opinion?
We have a deep interest in the Treaty for the Blind and Visually Impaired People because we work very closely with disability groups to provide services for people who have reading disabilities. In effect, how is this going? There seems to be a lot of talking about how to ensure that the right holders will not lose out. And yet we're talking about authorised entities authorised in their member state dealing with other authorised entities, so therefore very copyright compliant bodies, and yet we have a document which has many alternatives seeking to impose restrictions which quite frankly aren't necessary because these organisations are not going to break the law. It's almost suggesting maybe that some of the member states might not be quite as enthusiastic to enforce provisions like the three-step test as others are, which is kind of like might be true, might not, I don't know, I can't comment.
Are you optimistic that they'll have a treaty concluded in June?
At this stage it's hard to say. I think if they get to Marrakesh, then yes, they will have a treaty, but it's got to be a good treaty, because a treaty that doesn't help blind people how they say they want to be helped is worse than no treaty.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a one bite at the apple situation. Which means in the sense that if they have a bad treaty, it may be difficult to get a second treaty.
Oh, it'll be very difficult. I mean, it'll be many years before anybody comes back to this. It would be far better to walk away and not have a treaty and then basically revive the proposals again, which could be done pretty soon afterwards in order to get it right. But I think the problem is at the expense of a diplomatic conference. It would be a great shame if they actually got to Marrakesh and then didn't conclude a treaty that was going to work to address the book famine.
As an expert on copyright policy and on technology, what are your biggest concerns about the text so far?
What we have now is we have something called the burn gap, which is a new term, which is an approach to cross-border assurances, if you like, where in fact member states will be guaranteeing, either through membership of the international treaties and conventions or by exchange of diplomatic notes or whatever, that they will ensure that the works are only used for the proper purposes. Well, that's fine, but we still have in Article D all the other proposals which were about restricting uses and so forth, and repeating the three-step test several times over, when really you only needed three-step tests at the top of the document and then the rest would follow. So it's a bit obsessive, but all of that is now there, whereas in fact the guarantees ought to replace all the other proposals that were there. So I'm not sure what's happening there, where the decisions will get made, presumably in Marrakesh. And then also they haven't really discussed about technological protection measures. It's very important that the authorised entities will be able to override these measures in order to reformat works into accessible formats. Because without being able to do that, because electronic works are under license, in other words under contract, and the contracts are able to undermine the exceptions in national law, it will make the whole treaty useless unless this provision for technological protection measures is there.
Thank you very much. Before I let you go, is there anything you'd like to add?
The library community really hope that there is a good workable treaty for the reading disabled community, and we are at the very heart of it. We will be providing those services, whether through organisations for visually impaired people or simply just any library in any country in the world, and so we really do wish the treaty well.
Thank you.